know that last year in America alone, that over $3.6 billion was spent on Halloween candy? That just blows my mind. So if you're like me and want to save on that grocery budget and save a little bit of buying into the whole consumerism of holidays, I've got a few fall treats today that are easy to make, budget friendly, kid friendly, and everybody loves them. And the bonus is that they are refined sugar free and still delicious. So, the first thing I want to share with you is my maple caramel corn. And you just need a few ingredients. It's not hard, doesn't take much time. And I just have my popcorn here. I popped mine on the stove and just a little bit of coconut oil. No need to add salt or butter or anything like that. You can certainly just use air popped popcorn or microwave popcorn, your favorite brand too. But I really love the way popping popcorn makes the whole house smell good. And it just reminds me of fall. It was one of those family traditions that we always had growing up in the fall. My dad would pop a big pot of popcorn when the weather got cool. We all just loved it. So I still like doing that today. And my kids always loved it growing up too. So the only other ingredients are a little bit of baking soda and a little bit of salt. That's a half teaspoon each. And that's about 3 cups of popcorn, if I didn't say. And I have about 2/3 of a cup of pure maple syrup. And I have 3 tablespoons of butter. Now, the only thing that you'll really need that requires a little bit of attention is you'll need a thermometer of some kind to make sure that you get your sugar or maple syrup up to the proper temperature, which is around 225 degrees. You don't want to overcook it or overboil it just because it, makes the sugars crystallize. So if you were using regular sugar and doing an old-fashioned caramel, you really have to pay attention to that and be extra careful. When you're using maple syrup, you don't have to be that careful. It's not that complicated, and it won't burn as easily as refined sugar will, okay, or even brown sugar. So, and the other thing that I have is some vanilla. Now, this is my homemade vanilla that has been hanging out in the cabinet, getting nice and strong. So I think I started that in January of this year, and I've just started using it about a month ago. Let me know if you're interested in that process. It's not difficult either, and it's really enjoyable to make your own extracts in the kitchen. So I'm just going in with my maple syrup and my butter, get those melted, and I'm going to turn the heat up to about medium high, and we are going to bring it to a boil. Okay, and our maple syrup is at a boil. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit so that we can keep it simmering. And I'm going to pop my thermometer in there. Now, this is not a candy thermometer. It's actually a meat thermometer, and it only goes up to 220. So once it gets at 220, I'm going to remove it from the heat because the carryover cooking will allow that to go up another 5 degrees while we add in our vanilla, salt, and baking soda. So we're almost there, and it's that quick. This was literally boiling in less than a couple minutes. So I'm just going to let that hang out, kind of keep it stirring around the pot so that it doesn't burn. And like I said, this does not have as much of a tendency to burn as does refined sugar or brown sugar. Oh, and it already smells amazing. Okay, so I have just removed that from the heat, and I'm just going to stir in my salt and baking soda. Now this part you may want to be a little bit careful with because when the baking soda hits the hot sugar, it will bubble up a little bit. It'll bubble up slightly. So just stir it in, keep it stirring, and it will calm down. It will calm down on its own. There we go. And I'm just going to add in about a tablespoon of my vanilla. I like a lot of vanilla, so use a teaspoon to up to 2 tablespoons, however much vanilla that you like. This vanilla is pretty strong, and I like a strong vanilla flavor. So I'm going to go in with about a tablespoon. And at this point, this would be a good place to add in any extras you want to add in, like walnuts or peanuts or pecans or other little hard candies, whatever you want to add in there. Pretzels are good, the little tiny mini pretzels, those are really good in here. You can add cinnamon, some fall spices, but I'm just keeping it basic and plain. And I'm just going to pour that over my popcorn. Set that aside there and give it a good stir. Get all of your little popcorn pieces coated. I cannot wait to eat this. This makes me so happy. I love caramel corn, and maple is one of my favorite fall flavors. Okay, the only thing left to do is to put this coated, I shouldn't have put it on there, that was hot. The only thing left to do is to put your maple coated popcorn onto a cooking tray lined with parchment paper. Now you'll want to line it or spray your pan because this is really sticky, and if you don't line it or spray your pan, it's just going to stick to the pan and it'll be a mess. So just make it easy on yourself and line it or spray it. I like to line it with parchment paper. And I'm making a small recipe here, but you can certainly double or triple this for a large gathering, for a fall party. Kids love this and they will go absolutely bananas for it, as will most adults. The reason why I'm making such a small batch is because if I double it and make a large batch, I'm gonna eat it all like that. I can't control myself. It's so good. So I'm just making a small 1 tray batch for Tony and I to share this evening while we watch a little bit of football. And this is going into the oven at 250 for about 30 to 35 minutes, and I will stir it about every 10 minutes. Okay, our maple caramel corn is out of the oven, and you just want to make sure you let this cool completely, at least an hour, before you put it into an airtight container. And definitely don't try to taste it right now. It's hot sugar and you will burn your mouth. The next recipe I want to share is the iconic American classic Snicker bar. I have to confess, I've probably eaten 5 times my weight in this candy bar in my lifetime. At least that, probably more. Yes, you can make that vegan very easily without refined sugar or any of the artificial junk that goes into the commercially prepared stuff. No offense to the Snicker bar, but I think we can make one equally as delicious. So the first thing we're going to start with is our vegan caramel, which just starts with some soaked dates. I have about 1.5 cups of dates that I soaked in really hot water and drained those off. The other ingredients going in to the date caramel are salt and maca root powder. Now, if you've never used maca root powder, it's kind of a strong, unique flavor. This is the brand I buy. I'm not sponsored or affiliated or anything like that. I'm just showing you so you know what to look for. This is just an organic maca root powder. And what it adds to the caramel is like a deep richness that you would get from cooking down like a dairy-based caramel. It's so delicious and so unique. But if you don't want to use that or can't find it, you can also use just a little bit of espresso powder or even a mushroom coffee powder like Rise or one of those kind of things. So in that goes to our dates. And we're just going to add a little bit of vanilla, about a tablespoon. I may have gotten carried away with that. I think that was more like 2 tablespoons. And some cashew butter, which I have down here. This is a brand my son got for me, Fit Butters. And this one happens to be pumpkin pie flavored, although it didn't taste really like pumpkin pie, but it is a very good cashew butter. So I'm going to go in with about a 1/4 cup of cashew butter. And you can use any kind of nut butter here. I just like to use cashew butter because it has a nice neutral flavor, but almond butter or peanut butter will work as well. So we'll get that in there. And I'm just going to blend this up, and you'll see how easy this is. And it's so good on so many different things. Okay, and you'll want to blend that until it is nice and smooth and creamy. And we are going to make our nougat layer. And I'm going to take about 1/3 of our caramel and put that into a bowl with our oat flour. And you can use almond flour or walnut meal here also, and just give that a good mix until it looks like a nice thick dough. Okay, and once you have it mixed and it's the consistency of a nice thick dough, you just want to put it into whatever kind of container you want to use to form your candy bars, or you could put them into a little candy mold. I'm just using a regular bread loaf pan that I have lined with parchment paper. And I'm just going to take my hands and press this in. And once I have that pressed in, I actually took the sides of my parchment paper and laid them over and pressed that down. So once that's done, you just want to spread your remaining caramel layer on there and just spread it out. Oh, it's taking everything I've got right now not to just eat the caramel. Spread it out till it looks nice and relatively even. And then just go in with your roasted peanuts. And I'm just going to gently just press those into the caramel layer. And I'm going to pop this in the freezer for about 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, and while our Snicker bars are chilling, I'm just going to melt some chocolate to dip them in. I'm using an oat milk dark chocolate. This is a really good brand and really affordable. And I think I got these at Walmart, but I think they're also available at Publix. So they should be generally available, but if you don't have this particular brand, don't worry, just use your favorite brand of dairy-free chocolate. There are so many good ones out there now, and really easy to find, so you should be able to find one that you really love. Look at this, how cute. I have 2 little chocolates together, shaped like a heart. Okay, I'm going to just microwave this to melt them, but you could also put it over a double broiler. But just to make it easy, I'm going to microwave it. Now, when you're using the microwave to melt chocolate, you do have to be a little bit careful so you don't scorch it. So what you'll want to do is just microwave it for about 20 to 30 seconds, stop and stir it, and then microwave it in about 10-second intervals, stirring it between each one. And when it's almost completely melted and you have a few large chunks in there, it's ready. Just take it out and stir it the rest of the way, and it will continue to melt as you stir it. So you'll see once it is mostly melted like this, you can just continue to stir it, and the bowl will be hot enough to melt it the rest of the way. So satisfying. I love melting chocolate. Okay, and that looks pretty good to me. So let's cut up our bars, and they should be pretty easy to just get out of this container. Oh, I can't wait to have these. So I'm just going to cut these into equal pieces. Let me make some room here. And I just have a cutting board that I have placed a piece of parchment paper on so that I can lay them on there while the chocolate hardens. And I'm just going to cut these into equal size bars, start in the middle and work my way out. And you could from here cut them any size that you'd like to make them. That one's not very even, but that's okay. That looks good. Okay, and from there you just want to dip them in the chocolate, and I'm just going to make this easy on myself and use 2 forks to just kind of roll them over. I'm going to scoot this close to my parchment paper. Oh, how good does that look? And just lay them on the parchment paper to set. And after you get all of these done, you'll want to set them back in the refrigerator for a little bit for the chocolate to set completely, and then they will be ready to enjoy. And these are looking really good. I'm just going to pop them in the refrigerator for about 15 to 20 minutes so they can set up all the way, and then we will definitely try one. So I have to check one of these out. I can't wait any longer. Oh, look at that. It looks so good. We've got a layer of nougat and caramel and peanuts. Mmm. It is so good. I hope you'll try it. This next recipe is a favorite of mine also throughout the whole holiday season, and that's pumpkin pie. And we are going to do a fun little twist by making cute little hand pies. And I just have this little pumpkin shaped hand pie cutter. You don't have to have one of these. I'll try a few of these, but I'll also show you how to make these out of cookie cutters. This is all you need. You could even just do a round cookie cutter or any other shape that you like. But to start with, I'm going to make a simple pie crust. Now, if you don't want to go through the steps of making a homemade pie crust, don't worry. Just buy a store-bought one. It's okay. Most of them are vegan. Just read the ingredient label. It's fine to do that. We want to make it easy on ourselves. But this one is so good and it's so easy to make and it doesn't take any time to come together. So I just added a pinch of salt to my flour. And in here I have 2 cups of oat flour and a half a cup of whole wheat flour. And this has become my go-to pie crust for both sweet and savory dishes. It works really good for a pot pie or any other kind of pie you want to make. So I'm just going to stir that salt in. That's all we need in there. And for the fat, I have about 3 tablespoons of tahini and I have 1 tablespoon of vegan butter. And normally I would just use all tahini in here, but I went to make this recipe and I did not have enough tahini. So I just substituted a little bit of the fat with a tablespoon of vegan butter. So use whatever you have. All vegan butter or all tahini would work. Also coconut oil would work. Whatever you have. And it will come together pretty quick. Trying not to make too big of a mess here. All right, and I'm just going to get this going with a fork and cut in this fat until it's incorporated and it'll look like a crumbly texture. Usually you'll hear people say it'll have like pea-size pieces of fat. It doesn't have to be perfect at this point. Just incorporate it in there. And you know, a lot of people get really intimidated with making pie crust. And it's one of the first things I learned how to make. My mother made so many pies over the holiday season. She was really a great baker. But I have used this method all kinds of ways and all kinds of flours, all kinds of ingredients, and it always works. And this is how she taught me to do it. Now, to make this flaky and to make sure that your crust doesn't get too mushy and too separated, because you want the fat to stay kind of in little chunks while you work with it. The liquid that you use needs to be super cold, so use ice water. Another trick that works also in the steaming process in the oven is to use just a little bit of alcohol, like you can use vodka, or for flavored holiday pies, you can use a little bit of rum. It won't really, like a tablespoon worth, it won't really impart too much flavor, but it will help the fat steam and the pie crust stay together. Just a little trick. And you want it to kind of just come together into kind of a shaggy dough. I'm just going to use my hands, my impeccably clean hands in here, just to get it to come together and form like a mostly solid ball of dough. Okay, and after it's come together, I'm just going to form a disc like this. I'm going to pop it on some parchment paper, or you could use plastic wrap, and I'm just going to let it chill in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. Okay, while our dough chills out, I'm just going to put together the filling, and in here I just have 1 can of pumpkin puree, 1 small can of pumpkin puree. You could certainly roast some pumpkin and blend it up yourself, but I have this on hand because it happened to be on sale last week, so that was perfect. And I have, for spices, almost a full tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice. I like it really spicy. You can adjust that to taste. I think most recipes call for about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of your favorite pumpkin pie spice. And I also have about a half teaspoon of extra cinnamon, because I like it kind of spicy. I like it to really have that holiday flavor kick. And in my blender, I have soaked about 1 cup of cashews and about 3/4 of a cup of dates. This is about 10 New dates, pitted. Now, I use these a lot in baking. You could use either the medjool dates or the other smaller New dates, which are just a little bit less expensive. And I find that when you're using them in a recipe, it doesn't matter. So you might as well save a little bit of money and buy the smaller, less expensive ones if you find them available. If not, medjool dates work just fine too. And to this, I'm just going to add about a tablespoon of vanilla. I tried not to overdo it that time. Okay, and I'm just going to blend this up to add to my pumpkin puree. And the dates and the cashews will give your puree that nice custard like feel that you're going for in the pie, without any added like dairy or binding ingredients. So it'll set up nice and firm and have that silky pumpkin pie feeling without soy milk or butter or flax or any of that. Okay, and you just want to blend that until it's nice and smooth. So we're left with like a nice, thick, smooth and creamy consistency. I'm just going to add that to my pumpkin. My mouth is watering. It smells so good. And I hadn't yet, so I'm going to add just a little bit of salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, and I'm just going to mix this up till it's nice and combined. This would be a great place to use a whisk, but I currently don't have one in the kitchen, so a wooden spoon it is. All right, it's been about 30 minutes and my pie dough should be nice and firm, and it is. And I'm just going to roll it out right here on my piece of parchment paper. Just going to dust it lightly with a little bit of flour. as well as my rolling pin. I'm just going to roll it out. That was a little bit too much flour. We'll dust a little off and put on the other side. Just going to roll it out till it's about a 1/4 inch thick. All right, that looks good. And I'm just going to take my little like 3-inch pumpkin cookie cutter here and cut out a couple of rounds so I can show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take about a teaspoon of the pumpkin filling. I might roll this out just a little bit thinner and take and place it on top and just kind of pinch the edges down around so they don't separate when they bake. I'm just placing these on a parchment lined cookie tray, and these will bake for about 25 to 30 minutes at 350 degrees. And for these little hand pies, I'm just going to take a round that is about the same size and press that out. I may need to get a little knife to go around here. No, I think that's going to work. And I'm just going to place one on each side of the pie, the little pie cutter there. Okay, and I'm just going to, these can handle a little bit more filling than the cookie cutter ones. So a good spoon of filling in there. This is so fun. And I'm just going to press that down and take, this is a good project for kids to get involved with too, if you have any young bakers in the kitchen. I'm just going to take and remove the excess. So once that's good and sealed, these are so cute. And onto the baking tray. Once our little pies are done cooking, I'm just going to transfer them to a cooling rack to let them cool completely, and they will be ready to go. And this made a couple of trays worth, and I did have some extra filling left over, so I just popped that in the freezer to use another day. This one's being a little difficult. Come on, guy. Okay. All right, there we go. And these are going to be so good. Our little pumpkin pies are out of the oven and cooled, and I have just set up a tray of our yummy little fall treats here. This was so much fun to do. The popcorn, the candy, the pies, 3 of my favorite fall treats. Let me know in the comments what you think and what would be your favorite recipe. And certainly if you try one, let me know. You can tag me over on Instagram as well. I am going to enjoy my little pie here with an afternoon tea. I just wanted to say thank you so much for sticking around and watching the video. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, give me a like, and comment, and share the video with somebody who you think might enjoy these fall treats. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.